Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who can't tell if the person she likes her. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
No, we are not professionals. We are not even of sound body and mind. I only just realized today in 2023 at 37 years old that Rilo Kiley and Kylo Ren, the Star Wars character, are two different things.
They're two different things.
I didn't know one existed and the other one I just misnamed. I've been wrong in so many social situations.
Where people have been like, oh yeah, Kylo Ren. And you're like, yeah, they're great. I love that band.
No, more like I love Rilo Kiley. And I'll be like, I love Adam Driver. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, this is all to say, Sam and I are not professionals. We don't know what we're talking about. So please take our advice as you see fit. We're only here to offer our humble musings to getting more humble every day to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs about the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love. All right, today's check-in topic is inspired by a listener letter. I'm just going to go ahead and read it. It's just a couple paragraphs, and it has some like pretty fun details. It's from not a millionaire whose pronouns are she, her, who is writing to us from the hospital waiting room. They write, hi, Sam and Sierra. I have a check-in topic inspired by a friend's wild recent decision. My husband and I have a couple friends we are very close to, and they just had their very first baby last week. The new dad pulled my husband aside and told him he bought a surprise, quote, push present for his wife. For those of you who don't know, off the letter for a second, a push present is something that people give their partners after they give birth, like, like you're pushing the baby out. That's a whole other fucking check-in topic for us to dive into.
We should talk about push presents for sure.
You know what my push present was? A pair of slippers. And we called it my push present for a joke because I was like, I want these delivered to our house before I come home from the hospital.
Absolutely. Anything for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, thank you. Anyway, the idea of push presents is a whole other episode, but continuing on with the letter. Turns out, the letter writer writes, this present is a brand new custom Porsche. We Googled the price as any good friend would. And needless to say, it is astronomically expensive. Outside of this being a wild financial decision, considering they have a new baby, she's not working, etc., this sparked a whole conversation between my husband and I about how much you can spend without letting the other partner know. My husband and I have combined finances for the most part. We do have separate checking accounts currently with personal expenses like clothes, etc., but everything else we pay for and save for together. Even if you have entirely separate finances, what do you think is too much to spend without bringing your partner into that decision? I understand the concept of, quote, it's my money, I can do with it what I want. But there has to be something of a threshold when you are legally bound and have to make a joint financial decision, right? Would absolutely love to know your thoughts, and I know there is no right answer. P.S. With the current state of our world, inflation, and how heinously expensive rent is, my partner and I settled on like $500 being the max to spend on one thing without talking to the other first. Even typing that out, though, makes my skin crawl. Love you guys.
That's real. That's really real.
So that's our check-in topic for this week, which I also thought was like well-timed with Hanukkah and Christmas approaching us. We're in the week of Hanukkah now, but Christmas is coming. And, you know, we did an episode on our Patreon about like gift giving and the stress of spending money when you don't have it. So I felt like this was a natural next step in our conversation that we've been having. Yeah. What is your personal view and what is the view of your partnership with you and Peter? I know it's kind of a good example because you and Peter have separate finances where my wife and I have combined finances.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hybrid. We have like separate and then we combine.
Very similar to the letter writer, essentially.
I think so. Yeah,
right?
We have like separate checking accounts that we both get paid in and then we like pay bills together. And we have like a shared account that we draw from if we like need stuff for like particular things. So, yeah, I mean, we've never had this conversation, me and Peter, which is like really interesting, because we try to talk about money a lot because like money is like a huge factor in relationships. And, you know, even though we have separate stuff, we like check in with each other about like, what is the state of our finances on a regular basis,
Right.
so that we kind of like know what's going on with each other. But we never had a conversation about like how much it is okay for us to spend without telling the other person. And I think like for me, it's like actually kind of a low threshold. Like, I think like, it's like, I don't know, maybe like $200 or something, and not like a permission slip to like spend things, but more so a like check in about where our finances are. Partially because like, I think $200 is like a meaningful amount of money to both of us. And I don't think we like we don't monitor each other's like transactions. But again, if suddenly Peter was like, oh yeah, I have like $2,000 less in my savings account, I'd be like, why? Like, what did you spend it on? You know, like we would definitely have that conversation. So I don't know. It's like, I think it would be lower, but also like, as I have said multiple times in the past few weeks, gifts don't matter to me. So like, if someone was like, I went into debt to buy you this like Porsche, I'd be like, why did you do that? I don't want it. Like, I want you financial. Like, that's the gift that I want, is like you being financially sound.
Yeah, I wish the letter was actually about the Porsche so that we could get more details. Like,
yeah,
did you have your wife's permission? What kind of job do you have? Like, anyway.
Seriously, did you buy it with cash? Are you leasing it? Like, what is happening here?
Yeah, totally. Anyway, so I similarly have a lot lower of a threshold. All right, here we go. This is just an episode of me embarrassing myself.
I like it.
So my wife and I have shared finances. We developed like our own unique system of our own private checking accounts where we basically like get an allowance every month that we call NQA. That is like our personal spending, no questions asked. Like, you don't get to know. But even that amount, my wife and I are pretty frugal, and I'm a fucking professional podcaster, so I have to be really intentional about how I spend my money.
That's real.
A podcaster and a poet, people. This is not rolling in it over here. So we make decisions around money really intentionally. Honestly, I think our threshold is somewhere around $100, but in my heart, it's probably like in my actions, it's probably more like $50 because I think that's maybe because of my money trauma. Number one, like I've always not had a lot of money. And also I recognize that my wife makes the majority of our income. So I'm always kind of, I don't know, looking to her, and not in what I would say is like an unhealthy dynamic, but maybe one that will eventually go away. Maybe if we are together for 20 years. I don't think of our money as her money, but I do. We're both like equally frugal, but she's a lot more of a minimalist than I am, and we'll like wear the same jeans for 20 years. And you know, we'll use a lamp that works, but I think is ugly for 20 years, you know? Whereas I'm like, I want to spend $50 on a new lamp. And she'll be like, we have a lamp that works at home. And I'll be like, but it looks like a big butt plug. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to look at a butt plug lamp. But there is something in me that still won't buy that $50 lamp because I want to make smart financial choices. And so I think my threshold is somewhere between $50 and $100. But I'm a very cautious spender when it comes to our money collectively, not in an unhealthy way. I hope this isn't coming off as like my wife runs our finances and I'm scared to spend money. It's more just like I want to make joint decisions. If I ever spent money like this Porsche, or like if I went out and spent, $300 on a, I don't know, new rug without telling her, Willow wouldn't be angry as much as she would be really confused because we make these decisions together, and like all of our spending kind of is a joint decision, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose if you like have enough money that you don't have to think about this kind of stuff, then like it becomes a different story. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
it's so funny that you're pointing that out, because we were just having like a money goals conversation, because we are just, end of the year thinking about what to do financially over the next couple of years. And Willow was like, what's one of your financial goals? And I was like, I would like to spend $100 of our money without having to ask you. That was my goal. That was like my 5-year goal. We have the money, people. Let me just say that. I have the money to spend $100 without asking her, and I don't need to ask her permission, but it's more about the financial security, the feeling. I was describing the goal of having the financial security that I'm able to spend that $100 on new sheets without being like, well, can we spend this money? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
It's an anxiety thing, not like a permission thing. So that's my 5-year goal.
No, absolutely.
To let go
I mean,
of some of that financial fear.
It's a really different experience if you are, bringing home $10,000 a month or whatever versus, $1,000, or if you have, $27,000 in savings versus like $4 in savings, right? Like then the math around it becomes really different.
Yeah.
So like, obviously it's going to be like a case by case basis. And I think this just speaks to like the ways that we interact with money are so different. And so much of it is it's dependent on like how much we have of it. Like,
yes, totally.
it's just, there's, I think that there's kind of like this myth that exists in this world that it's like people who are rich are good with money and people who are poor are not. And actually what research says is that people who are poor are actually much better with money because they have to be out of necessity. And that like the impulse to like spend is like not just inherent to people who don't have money. It's like there's a whole book. It's called Scarcity, and it's about how people react and work through having scarce resources. And what we find is that people are actually way more on top of how much they have available to them if they have less of it than people who have a lot of money, right? Like, when's the last time you walked out of a grocery store and thought like, wait, how much did I just spend there? I don't know. That happens to me all the time, because like, whether it's $30 or $60 doesn't matter that much to me, because it's like that can be absorbed pretty easily by what I have, versus like somebody who doesn't have, but the difference between 30 and 60 is like, am I going to be able to pay for rent this month is like super different. Right. So
I think what you're getting at too answers the letter writer's check-in topic. And the letter writer was right to say that there is no right answer here. But what you're saying is we all have different like financial literacies and financial triggers. And in partnerships, that is real tricky to navigate sometimes. Shared expenses are not, shared bank accounts are not, because another reason why I run things by Willow, spending our money, deciding to spend our money, is because I'm a much more impulsive buyer than she is. Like, I'm a much more like, let me go with my gut, and she's sort of taught me how to like pump my brakes a little and think a little bit more critically about what we need to spend money on, what will last us another year or whatever. So I think it's just about creating a culture that's in your relationship, in your partnership, that's around money, that's sustainable, and that makes space for everybody's spending habits. Not just habits, everybody's feelings around money, For me personally, making a huge financial decision like that without me on the in, I can see a world in which like maybe that works for some people because, for example, like I inherited my house when I married my partner. She already owned it, but when we got together, And I always joke that like I inherited the house by marrying her, and therefore I got to avoid the chaos and stress of purchasing a home. Like I literally was just like, cool, I just got to sign a marriage license, and I never had to deal with any of like brokers or stress like that. Similarly, I can imagine like if you were living in such a way, such a financial comfort, and you were like, okay, go buy me a car, then you wouldn't have to deal with the stress of buying a car. I guess that would be beneficial to some people. You know, I'm trying to think about the woman who just gave birth, and now is going to get a super fancy car that's not necessarily like family friendly either.
Yeah, I don't know. Porsche does make SUVs, so.
Oh, really? Okay, maybe it's that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the important thing here is what we've been saying, which is that like everyone has different ideas of how much money we can spend and what it looks like and what we should be spending it on. So the important thing is to be in conversation with your people about like what does spending money look like for you, and what's okay and what's not okay in the context of the relationships that you have with the people whose finances are intertwined with yours. And I think about this too, even like when it comes to like gift giving for friends too, right? Like, you know, I've been in the experience where like a friend has given me a gift that's worth like $100 or whatever, and I spent like 10 on them because that's all I could afford. Yeah. And like the disparity between those things around like, what are the expectations of this? Like, is it okay that this, like, you know, like those conversations are not just for people who like share finances, but like this kind of like disagreement, or like not disagreement, but like different understandings of how much we can and should be spending on ourselves and other people are also happening in relationships that aren't just romantic or marital or whatever.
So, yeah, and who knows? Maybe she asked for the Porsche.
Maybe she did. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing I love more than like window shopping into other people's finances.
Yeah.
Kidding me? Yeah. I'm trying to convince my wife to like get a different used car than the used car that we're looking at. You know what I mean? Like that's where we're at right now.
I love that. I love that. Okay, let's get into today's letter. Today's letter comes from Crushing in the Outfield, whose pronouns are she, her, who is writing from an embarrassing void. Hi, Sam, Sierra, and Spencer. Longtime listener. You two have made me feel better so many times, and I often bring up the pod in therapy. LOL. I really hope that your therapist has good opinions of us. Here's my question that gives me a lot of internal embarrassment, but I feel the need to at least write it out. I, she, her, am married to my partner, he, him, and we've been together overall for around 4 years. We have a wonderful relationship that is currently what I'd describe as monogamish, and have discussed that we are both comfortable with each other expressing attraction towards others and potentially pursuing that attraction depending on the circumstance and each other's degree of comfort. We're both queer and agreed that we wouldn't want to, in general, keep each other from experiencing things, even though we're committed to each other long-term as primary partners. This is where my situation comes in. My partner has a coworker and friend, she, they, Kay, that has recently become part of our friend group. They come to different events, our house for dinner, and for a while, Kay and I didn't have much interaction because it felt like they were mostly my partner's close friend. Flash forward to September, and we all went on a group outing, drinking involved, and Kay and I spent the entire time talking. Kay asked about our relationship dynamic, to which I'm sure I didn't explain very well due to the drinking, but was something like, we're not totally monogamous. A lot of joking and flirting ensued, and I left that event feeling confused. I told my partner so. He explained that it did seem like Kay was flirting, and it didn't need to become a thing, as in my partner knows I am an overthinker. My partner expressed that he has no problem with my crush on Kay at all, but knows that I often struggle with gray areas or sitting with my feelings. Surprise, I spent a lot of time agonizing and overthinking it, mulling over my own attraction to them, and feeling awkward because this is my partner's close friend and coworker. For a few weeks after that, it was difficult because Kay was texting me every single day. Not that I wasn't excited about it. And eventually it seemed like our communication died down a bit due to us both being busy. So I just sort of put those emotions on the back burner. However, they recently asked if we could hang out. this weekend, we were meant to only grab lunch, but then we spent the entire day together and it felt great. Being with them feels like being around someone who reminds you of home. And also, they're just really hot. They told me that I should make a list of things that I didn't want to do with my husband, and we could do them together. Our legs were touching as we sat right next to each other at a coffee shop, and there was a lot of closeness, to which they pointed out that this could be a date. We walked around our city, they came back to our apartment for dinner, and at the end of the night, they were sitting next to me on our couch, like right beside me, blowing me what I can only explain as air kisses while my husband was upstairs playing video games. After they left, my husband explained that he definitely feels they are attracted to me and opening the door for something more. I explained that I don't want to assume anything and that it could just be them wanting to be good friends. I feel that queer friendship sometimes looks like this, or could. It just hasn't been in my experience with my other queer friends. He disagreed and said that yes, queer friendship can be incredibly intimate, but that there's more to this, in his opinion, than that. That night, Kay texted me and said they had a great time and that they were sad to leave, and I said I was sad for them to go. Here's my quandary and then my question. I do not want to make Kay feel like they cannot trust me or that I'm only friends with them because I want something more, but I am confused. I don't know how to differentiate between if this is friendly and I am misreading or if this is something else. I have a feeling you both are going to encourage me to ask Kay directly. Spoiler alert, we are going to encourage you to do that. But I feel a hesitancy due to the fact that Kay is my husband's friend and coworker. I don't want to be wrong and then affect their relationship. Am I absolutely making a mountain out of a molehill here, or is there something to this? Also, I want to be mindful of the fact that this is a situation where, because Kay is single and I am married, there is inherently a dynamic present where I don't want to hurt them. Really, I just don't know how to proceed. Do I let this go? And am I making a very embarrassing assumption? Any advice is appreciated. And you two, just seeing this letter makes me feel better. Love always.
Aww.
Crushing in the outfield.
Cute, 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 cute. Love this letter.
It is cute. It's really adorable.
It's so cute. I just love, like, I don't know. I love our JBU community so much because I love picturing our letter writer here being like, man, I don't know if I have a crush on, or like, I don't know if this is real. Let me write to Just Break Up. Like, it's just
absolutely.
So cute.
It is. It's just
so thrilled
adorable
to be a part of this. Like, I feel like we're in a little huddle right now, and you just like laid out all the,
oh my God, absolutely,
players, and we're huddling. We're like, okay, this is what's going to happen next. Okay. That is all to say. This is adorable. We can't wait to talk about it. We have to take a very quick break first. And then we're going to get into the huddle with you, my love.
All right, everyone, time to huddle up. Here we go. We're gonna figure out what we need to do in this situation.
Yeah, let's go.
I do want to say, like, yeah, right. I do want to say a couple things first, which is that, like, first of all, I think it's really cool that you and your husband are like having these types of conversations with each other.
It's so
and that
attractive.
Yeah, no, it is really attractive. It's hot.
Yeah.
Recognizing that, like, not everyone needs to participate in monogamy not everyone needs to participate in polyamory or ethical non-monogamy in order to be like hip or cool or like with it or enlightened or whatever. And it's really awesome to see places where these types of conversations and like this type of work is happening in ways that feel like really helpful and constructive and good. Like, it's wonderful that you two are able to be so honest with each other and like committed to kind of navigating this stuff as it comes up with each other, which I think is really wonderful. And also, like, kudos to your husband for like being your wingman in this situation, right? Of
like, I love it.
Being like,
well,
babe,
what I wanted to add is that at this point in Just Break Up, we've probably read, between 7,000 letters, right?
A lot. Yeah.
I think we did the number there like a year ago, and it was like 6,000. Mm-hmm. So we've read a lot of letters of like jealous partners, and we've read a lot of letters from people who wanted to open their relationship and they stumbled, or things got unbalanced or toxic really fast. It's just so refreshing to see our hard work pay off, not like ours, but like
ours. Yeah, not like me and Sierra's, but like collectively.
I meant like it was like a royal we. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
we are all putting a lot of work into ourselves. It's so rewarding to see it pay off, and now to say it in like a better, more human way.
Yeah,
it's really rewarding to see the reward of your labor, you and your husband, in your partnership, in your life, in your healing journey, pay off in this way. It's just so refreshing, to be honest. Like it's like a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just like the comfort with which you both are also talking about your queerness with each other too, right? Like, you know, we also get letters about how to have a conversation with your partner about your queer identity and like all of that stuff. So like, it's really great to sort of see this in a way that feels like the issue isn't the queerness or the experiment or the opening up of the relationship, but instead like the process. Like, how do we do this in a way that actually like feels good, given that the playbook is not written in stone. So, what I will say is that like you called it in terms of like what we're going to tell you to do. We think you should shoot your shot, right? This is definitely a shoot your shot type moment.
I would especially say shoot your shot because of the follow-up text. Oh my God. They went home and they were like, I'm sad to leave you.
I had such a great time.
Like, I have not fucking said that to a single person that I didn't want to suck face with, okay?
Absolutely not.
If I do send my friends like follow-up texts and I'd be like, oh my God, I had a great time. See you soon. It's not like I wish I was still there blowing you air kisses. What the fuck is that? First of all, I just want to, that's the only point of confusion in this whole letter. Like, what are essentially air kisses?
Yeah, like I'm having trouble imagining it, but I'm trying to make it cute in my head, but in my head it's just like weird.
No,
just like corny.
If you guys don't know what we're doing, you can watch along on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, we think you should shoot your shot because, like, for us, the signs are all there, right? And we're in agreement with your husband. And this is like, yeah, we think that they like you, and it's pretty obvious. My first question to people in like a deep conversation is if I don't want to sleep with them is not what is your relationship status like?
Parameters of your relationship.
Yeah, like is there any like flexibility here?
That is hysterical. If I don't want to sleep with them, I'm not going to ask.
Yeah, I'm not going to be like, so are you in an open relationship or?
Yeah. How's that going for you? No reason.
Not.
No reason to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that Kay likes you. I think that Kay is interested in seeing what happens here. And of course, this is tricky because of the fact that this is your husband's friend and coworker and all of this stuff. Like, I'm not trying to like pretend like that's not happening. And like, these are tricky situations that we navigate all the time, right? Like, these are things that we can figure out as we go along, but I don't think it's worth it for you to sit on this feeling for fear of this dynamic getting weird, because I think that like, it sounds like you three are all really good at kind of navigating and talking to each other about this stuff. And my hope is that if you commit to going into this and being really intentional about like, what are the rules? What are the parameters? How are we going to do this in a way where we can like figure this out? Then I see it going well, right? I see that there could like a really strong outcome of this could be you all figure out what like an open relationship might look like for you, whether that's like just physical, whether that's dating, whether that is like a full blown like throuple situation, right? Like there's so many different ways that this could go. That I think are mostly majority pretty positive. And so I think it's important to keep that in mind. I know that you're a worrier, and as a worrier, I deeply relate. But often, like, we let the worry get in the way of us being able to see outcomes that might be really positive, that might bring us a lot of joy or a great experience or something new to learn. So I want you to keep that in mind, even as you're worrying about what this means.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the first thing, like, if you have a checklist right now and the first item on your checklist is like, does Kay like me? Is this real? It's been checked
That's
off.
checked off. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
There are 3 sets of initials next to it. It's your partner's, it's Sam's, and mine. And we've all checked it. We all did like the bathroom clean, checked it. The timestamp is there of when we approved it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The second thing is to, I think, go to, I would go to your husband before I go back to Kay and just be like, so if this is real, I'm interested in approaching this crush, and I want to know what those boundaries should be. Because we've confirmed it. Kay has a crush on you. You have a crush on them. They're super hot. Now you go to your husband and say, I'm interested in acting on this crush. Are you okay with that? What would that look like? Are you okay that it's your friend and your coworker? Honestly, that's the only thing gives me pause, is that like, I don't know how secure your husband is. And, working with someone, being friends with someone, and having them also be a part of your romantic partnership might be complicated, and it might not at all. Like, it doesn't really sound like it. It sounds like your partner is very securely attached and y'all have an amazing foundation in your relationship. That's just the one thing that gives me pause, is like, I don't want you to stumble over that. I want you to address it head on and be like, okay, what would this look like for you? And then take all of that information that you and your partner formulated, and load it into a little Cupid gun and shoot your shot.
I love it. Yeah, I think
inappropriately violent, but you guys get what I'm trying to say.
I think that Sierra's absolutely right, and I think that you also need to talk really sort of concretely about what is on and off the table in terms of like how this relationship goes too, right? Is it like kissing and hanging out is available, right? Like having sex, is that okay? Like what are the parameters around that? What does it look like if you start actually like dating this person, right? Like not just like, this is a friend that I sometimes sleep with, but like we want to be in each other's lives for a long period of time, right? I think that some of those like what ifs don't necessarily need to be like fully ironed out, right? Like I don't want to also like get that in the way, but I think that you and your partner need to have some real concrete conversations about what's on and off the table. Cause it's like, it's easy enough to be like, oh yeah, we'll open it up. And like, oh, if you develop a crush on someone, like, well, let's see what happens.
It.
Like, I do think that like now we're at a place where some real tangible conversation needs to be happening. And then you also need to bring that to Kay too, to really articulate like what is in and out of bounds for what your potential relationship could look like as well. And that doesn't need to happen like on the first, like before you shoot your shot, right? Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to be like, here's the parameters, do you want in? But you can say, I like you, let's hang out. And then you can kind of have a conversation about like what is available or not available while you're hanging out. Like, you don't need to like text them like a whole
I don't know. I think you got to be upfront immediately. I think you got to come out guns blazing, more weird, violent imagery. And you say, hey, like, this is my offer. That's the way I view it. Like, that's what I would appreciate to know, like,
sure.
I'm very committed to my marriage, and we've also opened it up to explore in these ways. Are you interested in it? I don't know. That's just me and my, maybe what I would want. One thing that gives me pause.
Just like, if somebody sent me that text, I'd be like presumptuous.
Yeah. But on that point, Sam, the one thing that gives me pause is the comment, make a list of everything your husband doesn't like to do and I'll do it with you. That could not be more explicitly like, I like you. Like,
oh, for sure. Yep.
But it gives me pause because I'm like, are you, I don't know.
No, I think that's real. And I think that's why there needs to be some guardrails to like what is on and off the table. Cause like, cause you need to be really clear with Kay, who seems to really like you, to be clear.
like abundantly like you. They were basically like, make a list of everything your husband doesn't want to do, and I will do that. I will be what your husband isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Which again, it's like why there needs to be some parameters that are pretty clear, if there are parameters, to say like, yeah, absolutely, we can have a relationship, but it's got to look like this is what it can look like, and it can't look like this other thing. Because if it's like you can have a short tryst and or NK is like, I love you though, and I want to be with you for forever, then you're gonna need to have a conversation about that.
That's what I want to know. To be honest, back when I was single, like right before I reconnected with Willow, I was like on some dating apps, and I connected with, I think, 2 people that were in open relationships, but they didn't say that explicitly on their page. I like found that out either through like social media stalking or conversation. I can't remember. And I really wanted them to be, I didn't care. I wasn't like, oh man, gross, get off these apps. I was more like, I want to know what your parameters are so that I can choose if I want to pursue that or not. You know what I mean? Like, sure. If you can have a girlfriend and a long-term partner, cool, let me know that so I can decide whether or not like I want to, I don't know. Yeah. That's why I say be upfront with them.
Well, they also know. Like they know that at least that's like an open relationship type thing.
Yes. You're right.
Like, it's not going to be like suddenly they're going to stalk her and be like, wait a minute, you have a husband, right? Like, that is really clear to everyone involved.
Yes. Okay. But if it's not abundantly clear to everyone else in the Just Break Up world, we think that you should shoot your shot. Like, figure it out what the parameters are with your husband. Bring that to Kay and see what happens. We hope you have a lot of fun, and we hope you feel really fulfilled by this new exciting adventure.
Absolutely. And so exciting that you like have found this person that you really connect with. Like, that's such a wonderful thing.
All right, my darling. We hope this helps.
Thank you so much for writing. We love you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like more content from us, or if you would like ad-free episodes, you can always support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DM, send us your favorite relationship meme, but most importantly, you can submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need 2 random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his music and podcasts. And remember, it's okay to believe the good things. I know we've been taught that we need to protect ourselves. We need to be defensive. We need to, overthink things. But if somebody likes you and they're showing that they like you and everybody is telling you that they like you, it's okay to believe the good things too. And if all else fails,
just break up.